Salute to Knicks Nation Thursday night. Knicks, CP from KnicksFanTV on the check-in. This is the quarter season report. Knicks are 8-11 on this campaign so far, sitting in 8th in the Eastern Conference. So I wanted to chop it up with my guys. Joining me tonight, we have the return of David Zenon, basketball skills trainer. David, welcome back. My guy CK2K, representing the West Coast Knicks. CK, what's going on? And of course, Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School. Macri, how you feeling, man?
Fantastic.
Absolutely, man. I mean, how could you not be with the way this team has played so far? Shout out the Gates 5-3 start, best start since Knicks tape. And we got to kick it off with the good, and it's got to be with Julius, man. Julius Randle, 22 points, 11 boards, 6 dimes on the campaign, doubling his assist average from last year. His assist percentage damn near doubling. Assist to usage rate almost doubling. Julius is just playing like a beast, man. You know, he was much maligned from his first year here. As we know, a lot of us in the fan base wanted to see him gone, based on a lot of the mistakes that he had made, but give credit to him. He's really put in a lot of work. And without him, I don't think this team wins a game without him. CK, what do you think about Julius's performance so far?
Yeah, I've apologized everywhere I could apologize, and I'm hoping Julius Randle's hearing it if he cares, and probably doesn't care. But yeah, I was definitely in the heat of all that that we were giving him last year. But yeah, there is no good start that we've had this year without Julius Randle, and that is point blank. Period. I had worries that him and RJ Barrett were just too similar and did too much of the same thing, that they just will not work. And they slapped me in the face, proving me wrong, and I'm completely fine being smacked with being wrong on that one. I'll take that L every day of the week. But yeah, Julius Randle went from being the guy that everybody was blaming last year to a potential all-star. We're all coming together trying to make sure that we get that guy in there. So yeah, we couldn't have had this season so far without Julius Randle. So yeah,
100%, man. Macri, what about you, bro?
I mean, when he's not on the floor, this is according to Cleaning the Glass, the Knicks are scoring 98.7 points per 100 possessions, which would be terrible. The worst margin in the league by like 5 points or 6 points or something like that. It's obscene. When he's not on the floor, they have a 46 effective field goal percentage. That's absurd. They can't do anything offensively when he's not out there. And I don't mean that to disparage RJ Barrett, because RJ's made some real strides, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him. His season has been, honestly, in some ways, as refreshing as Randle's because of the ways that he's grown. Mm-hmm. But it just goes to show that in the NBA, you need to be a special player to carry an offense. And he is carrying the Knicks offense on his broad shoulders. And I've eaten my crow. I'm sure there's a lot more crow to come. I'm trying to get the Julius Randle All-Star campaign started to get my man his money. $1 million bonus if he makes it. But what can you say? He's been an All-Star. That's all there is to say about it.
Yeah, man. David, what have you seen from Julius thus far this season?
He's commanding double teams. I mean, they're even zoning him. Yeah. The guy's a beast right now. It's crazy. It's like night and day from the fans' reaction, his development, and the way he's been able to play. And, it's crazy to see. He's finding teammates now. Mm-hmm. That was like the biggest knock that everybody had against him last year. And they're saying that he was a little bit too selfish with that spin move. But now, he's finding guys. He's scoring. He's rebounding. He's playing great defense. I mean, the guy's an animal.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You've seen him play a lot more under control. And give credit to Fizz. I think we knocked Fizz a lot, but Fizz's objective last year was to give Randle a lot of that responsibility as the point forward and to really be that guy. Fizz really challenged him in that way. But he didn't handle it the best way, and it was a tough learning experience for him. But like I said, this year, as he said, he studied more film under Tibbs. He studied, Chicago sets, Minnesota sets, worked on his body a lot, came in trim, and he's doing a damn thing, man. 86th percentile in assist to usage. That's outstanding because we were looking for him to make winning plays. That was always going to be the difference maker with him. We knew the points were going to come, the boards were always going to come, but can he make winning plays for this team? Can he make his teammates better? And I think he's done that. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. CK, what else have you looked at as, I guess, a positive this season?
The definite positive just been coaching, right? We got to talk about up top, because something we haven't seen in such a long time is just hearing all the things we want to hear in the offseason, the stuff that just gets us Knicks fans so excited, but then actually seeing it be backed up as the season began. You know, we're talking about, you know, defense, and we're going to work on defense. We're going to work on this, that, and the third, and then the season starts, and it's like, what the hell were we listening to? And then this year we were actually seeing that we were working on defense. Yeah. The ball was moving. Like, a lot of the things that were being said was happening, and it was really, really, really nice to see. And of course, just like with anything that the Knicks ever do, there was a lot of skepticism that came with, you know, the Knicks hiring Tom Thibodeau, and that went away. I feel like went away pretty quickly because, he's put this team into shape. You know, a young squad that people were afraid that he wasn't going to be able to adapt to, and he's done a great job. So, you know, we're probably going to talk about it eventually, you know, with rotations and people have their gripes and this, that, and the third, but overall, what he's done so far, getting this team to play defense, we're talking. I see more tweets about Kevin Knox making good stops than I've seen in his entire career. So you got to give your hat to Tom Thibodeau, because I feel like he's a huge, major part to the start that we've had.
Top 10 defense in the league, Macri, man. Top 10 defense in the league. Got to talk about the job that Tibbs has done. These guys are locked in. These guys are buying in. They're playing hard under him. I love the way that Tibbs, you know, holds these guys accountable. You know, when he sees that the momentum is slipping away, instantly calls a timeout, gets the guys to regroup. And, you know, these guys have locked in. You notice last year and a lot of years, you know, previously, it was always blown assignments. It was always blown coverages. Guys looking around when the basket goes through the hoop, like, you know, whose man was this? What are you doing? This, that, and the third. Yeah, I've been seeing that too much. I mean, on this West Coast trip, yeah, you know, they had some breakdowns, especially in the Utah game. But all in all, man, they're playing like a sound unit out there.
Yeah, you know, I think the hardest thing to do in the NBA is to get a team that is picked to finish last, to act like a team that hasn't been picked to finish last, right? Because we have heard how many different coaches, you know, as you just said, talk about accountability before a season. And it's really easy to talk about accountability. It's a great word to throw around. It sounds nice.
They all say it.
It has a wonderful ring to it. Yeah. But ultimately, these guys are smart, right? So they know, like, all right, well, the team's not going to be very good. I have this role with the team, and whatever that role is, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a young player, like, you know, once the season deteriorates, like, you're eventually either going to get your minutes regardless of what you do, or you're not going to get your minutes regardless of what you do. Mm-hmm. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So to have these guys come in and act like, you know what, we're a competitive team, despite the fact that they are out talented, I mean, pretty much every night. I don't, you know, I don't know if that's an overstatement, but, like, seriously, like, we were favored in 2 games this year against the shorthanded Cavs and against the Thunder. And you look out there and you're like, well, geez, the Thunder have Al Horford and, like, George Hill and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and, like, Luke against Dorton, all these guys. Like, it's an uphill climb every night, and somehow they're 8-11, and I don't think it's fool's gold. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get into it, but I think the defense is real. I really do. I think they're doing just enough right. Yeah, there's some open shots, of course, but it's within the scheme. It's what Tibbs wants to do. You know, can you get out harder occasionally? Sure, but I think they're competing.
Yeah. I think the defense is real. I mean, if you look at where they've come from, you know, again, last year and previous years, yeah, maybe they may come back to the middle a little bit. You know, they are top 10. I think they've been hovering between 6 to 10. They do give up some open looks here and there, and some teams are going to make you pay. But I think overall they've been pretty sound. They've been disciplined. I would love to see them get a little bit more aggressive. Maybe that comes with personnel. You know, they don't turn you over that much. And I think that when you talk about the offense still not being where it needs to be, I think that would certainly help. But I think overall, you know, the defense has been pretty sound. And David, what do you see out there from the defensive end?
An air of confidence. That's what I see. I see a confident, competent group. that they communicate. I mean, a lot of people were, I guess, complaining or worried about the fact that Tibbs likes to ice a lot of times. And, you know, we've been able to show the skill set of having a real rim protector in Mitch. And then even, as I said, you know, Randle's playing great defense. Knox is getting stops. RJ's buying in. We're using our length to our ability. So, or to their abilities, I should say. So, yes, I think the defense is real. There's much more communication in the sense of the help side and the little things that a lot of people overlook. They're buying into it. And, you know, sure, there are little things that happen here and there in the perimeter and like running guys off the 3-point line that, you know, we could tweak a little bit, but for the most part, they were number one at one point during this point of the season. So
yeah,
that's not fool's gold, man. They're legit.
That's the coaching, man. That's the coaching. CK, another aspect, we got to look at RJ, man. Got to look at young Rowan Barrett, 17-6 on the campaign. Came out slow after a hot preseason, shooting in the preseason. Came out slow. You had people questioning what's going on with him. You know, the slander, talking about send him to the G League, like desperation time. You know, not even 20 games in, and people were panicking. But he's had some good stretches, man. I think the Golden State game to me really sticks out as probably his best game of the season, and 74% from the free throw line. To me, that's been most encouraging, coming from 60% last year. Wanted to see that improve because we knew his bread and butter is going to be getting to that basket, and we knew Tibbs is going to utilize him that way. So for him to get there and get those free points, it makes me more comfortable with his role and not having to really, you know, rely on him as a 3-point shooter, because I don't think he's ever really going to get there consistently. But to see him get to the stripe, knock those down at a good clip, I love it. And secondly, with RJ, facilitating. I love him as a facilitator in this offense. Definitely want to see more as the season progresses. But as I said, I look at that Golden State game and how Tibbs utilized him, and it was excellent, man. What's your thoughts on how RJ's been playing so far?
I love that last part was the part I was going to add, because of course I've been very excited about him from when we drafted him, and of course, you know, I was getting attacked because like, oh man, this RJ Barrett guy is playing a good third overall pick. CK, you don't know, he's a G League, blah blah blah, and you know, overreacting as we do. But he's had a great season. We're seeing him jump up in a lot of numbers, but the two biggest things are the rebounding and those free throws. Like those are things that you're just seeing. As a 20-year-old kid, the growth of his game overall, you know, I'm not really that worried about the 3-point shooting. I think at some point maybe he can have it where he's open, he hits it, like that's fine. But what I love is that I'm gonna go back to probably like the Brooklyn game is probably when I feel like that's when he turned it around. He's been doing pretty solid ever since then. Whereas you see him attacking the rim and looking to get others more involved, and that's who RJ Barrett really truly is, and that's why he's been having this stretch of games, like you said, more notably the Golden State game. He's 20, man, and he's improving each and every game, and there's still so much that's yet to come. You know, the defense is another thing I don't think we're talking enough about when it comes to RJ Barrett. There's so many things that he's just doing so well. But yeah, the very last thing you said is the thing that I want more of. I think we saw that. We saw it at the beginning of the Portland game, and we saw it a little bit in that Utah game where you saw RJ was running the ball a little bit more in the Alfred Payne, and I like that because that's where I feel like you're seeing the most out of what RJ Barrett can truly do. He's great around the rim, great inside scorer. You know, we get that, but his facilitating is just so slept on, and we don't get to see that enough. So I want to see more of that as the season goes on. That's what I'm looking at.
And that's one of the things why I never really, panicked when he was going through the shooting slump, was because he does other things to impact the team in terms of winning. It's not like Kev, and salute to Kev, because I'm a big Kev fan. But when Kev's not shooting, yes, his defensive activity is good, but he's not really contributing elsewhere. At least with RJ, he's going to get on the boards. He's still going to get to the line, and he's going to facilitate. Doesn't turn the ball over that much either. And so I think there's still areas of the game that he's going to impact, and we just got to have patience with RJ. But Macri, over to you, man. What's been your takes on year 2 of Rowan Barrett?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple. I'm going to steal from my my Friday newsletter. There's 2 players in the league this year that are 6'6" or under, that are top 5 offensive rebounds per game and total rebounds per game, and it's Barrett and Keldon Johnson in San Antonio. Last 7 games, or actually it might be 8 games, among 196 NBA players who've taken at least 3-pointers per 3-3-pointers per game. RJ is 8th in conversion rate. He's hit 52% of those, which is just like, if you would have said that during either what was it, 0 for 21 or 1 for
0 for 21.
But
it's the first game.
He didn't let it get to him, and that's the thing I think you come back to. And I know myself, I get caught in the trap with Barrett where I'm like, okay, where's the elite skill? Where's the elite skill that if everything else is breaking down, he could rely on that as the thing that's going to set up every other part of his game. And I think where we need to start to move to is, because his whole game is so well-rounded, he doesn't necessarily need that elite skill. And I say that with the realization that he does do 2 things as well as anyone. Get to the line, and he's now converting those looks, and he gets to the rim. Yeah. Now, which is why I think of everything that we could talk about with Barrett, his numbers around the basket, specifically over the last, I feel like it's been 5, 6, 7 games, it's really started to turn around, because that was the thing that always worried me. Is like, okay, the guy can get to the basket, but if he can't convert around there, where's the domino effect, right? Yeah. And I think the move he put on Gobert, and I know a few people have highlighted it, where he just whizzed past him. Like that, to me, single most impressive play for me for the entire year. Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Snake dribble, kept him off guard. That was nice, man. Real nice. And I was showing the replay of the jab step on Buddy Hield.
I was
he pulled the jab step out the Arsenal, man. Come on, bro.
I loved it.
Mid-range is where I want to see him perfecting his game, man, and I think he's got a ways to go. David, you've kind of taught shooting and the art of shooting, and we know that that's something that he worked on with his trainer in Drew Hanlon. Have you noticed any differences in RJ's shot mechanics this year?
RJ Barrett, good? I wonder who said that. I'm gonna take my bias out of this. Man, RJ, I love RJ. That's my man. But his shooting, yes. Mechanics wise, he's getting rid of the ball. He doesn't have that little bit of a hitch. His palm's not flat with the ball. He's able to spread his fingertips. He's going up with more, and I'm trying to use this word as much as possible with this team, confidence, because there were times last year where, as aggressive as RJ is going to the basket, there were times where he might have, looked off a shot or two just because he was trying to find a better shot per se. RJ's, trying to be more aggressive, and he's comfortable, and, just like Macri pointed out, he's converting when he gets to the free throw line. He's confident there. The release is the same at the free throw line that it is on a jump shot. And that's something that I was really looking to see from him this year, because most of the times when guys get in their own heads, they change routines. They try to, fidget with the ball. They do a little bit too much. But RJ has done a lot in terms of his mechanics and working on that shot with Drew. And I'm tremendously happy and proud for him.
Absolutely, man. This kid's got a ways to go, but definitely encouraged in how he broke out of that slump. Let me just hit the reset real quick. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This is the quarter season report. CP from KnicksFanTV checking in. We got David Zenon, CK2K, and Jonathan Macri in the building. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Salute to all the mods. TM, Keith Sinclair, I see you guys in here. I see the chat going along with the conversation as well. Salute to B-Man, what's going on? Black Paul, Gregory Castillo, always in here. John Talento. Jay Boogie's in the building. The fan favorite is holding it down in the chat. So salute to Jay Boogie, CP the artist, CM, what's going on? If you guys want to call in with some points after we get through our panel discussion, we'll get to some caller reactions and questions as well. So make sure you guys call in 657-383-1509. Now, fellas, obviously another highlight of this quarter season so far has been IQ. Emanuel Quickley, man. Going into this draft, we knew him as a 3-point marksman with question marks about whether he could play the point. And he's coming from the preseason on through. And to me, he surprised me. I can't speak for everybody else, but he certainly surprised me in how he's, handled this position with poise. Yes, he's made his mistakes as all rookies do, but I mean, just the poise is really what sticks out. The floater game has been on the money. His ability to draw fouls like a veteran. I mean, he looks like James Harden sometimes out there, the way he's getting the calls, and he's getting the calls from the refs as a rookie. You know, IQ is really giving this second unit a jolt. It's got the fan base anxious for changes in the starting lineup. Tibbs, start the kid, give him the keys. David, I'll start with you this time, man. What's been your impressions with Quickley thus far?
I love that floater, man. That dude, he's aggressive. He gets to the lane. He puts that floater up. He's able to facilitate the offense, but he's been scoring. I mean, he scores at that high clip. I mean, you're talking kid, very smart.
Yo, David, my fault, bro. I lost you guys' connection for a second, man. But if you don't mind, just reiterating your point real quick, bro. My internet connection has been kind of going crazy. So if you don't mind.
Okay, no worries, man. Yeah. No, he's intelligent kid, a very, very smart kid. I think the thing about him is when he walks on the court and he's able to keep everybody else accountable, you don't see that from a lot of rookies a lot of the time. And when you're talking about guys where we're looking at Randle having a great year, RJ having a great year, and then that third person that's just going to fill in that spot here and there, it's point guard by committee we've been having, but with this kid, he looks like the truth. And as I said, I love his offensive, his game, man. That floater's deadly, man. And when he's able to, he hits those shots from the outside. I'm talking about one dribble pull up, or he's able to get, even if he's ran off the 3-point line, he doesn't look rattled at all. And I love that about the kid.
That's a fact. CK, what's been your impressions of IQ this season?
Very surprised. I did not see any of what we're seeing right now coming at all, and that is not slight. I just knew him as just the scorer. He's always done that. He's always been a crazy shooter. So I thought that's what we'd be getting at the least. Like we just began a shooter finally, because we haven't had solid, consistent shooters on this team. But this dude just came out in preseason and showed us so much more. And now, we're all in love with this kid. But the thing that impressed me the most is what you mentioned, is just the way that this dude, as a rookie in the NBA, gets these foul calls is just absolutely, it's just beautiful. The floater is great. I love the floater. I'm a fan of the floater. But man, this guy is over there he's getting the side calls. He's got Damian Lillard even calling him out. So it's just great to see. Like the confidence, and I got you, Dave. I got you. The confidence that comes from IQ is just it's refreshing, you know what I mean, in his first year. And he's had his games, where he's had a few bad games here or there where he's allowed to be a rookie. Mm-hmm. But there's been so many highs to the point where we're talking about him in that rookie of the year ladder. So I've been pleasantly surprised, and I'm really excited to see how he finishes out the season. If he continues to go on trajectory, if he eventually becomes our starter, whatever the case may be, the kid comes and attacks the game the right way. And I'm really excited that we got a great draft pick in the later rounds, in the late first round. It's great.
And now Macri, man, the fans are calling for it, man. They're losing patience with Tibbs. We know Tibbs is a stubborn guy. We know he's going to stick to his guns. Personally, I don't see a change happening. It's too soon. Tibbs has gone on and said, he likes him with the second unit right now. He did finish with right now. So what's your take? You've been covering the team. You've been asking Tibbs these questions. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, y'all know my day job is a teacher. So if I'm teaching a class and like after a couple months, you looking at like my test scores for my kids and like, man, you're doing better with anybody who's done with this class in years. And then walk in, watch it a little bit and be like, but I don't like how you do this. You should change this, right? Now it's not working. Well, can't have it both ways. Right. And it's like, it'd be one thing if he was, and look, for 20 some odd other NBA franchises, 8 and 11 is not anything to write home about. We are not other NBA franchises. This is the Knicks, where it has been largely, whatever term, dumpster fire, tire fire, any kind of fire, something is ablaze, always ablaze. So when you start out the season like this with all the stuff we've been talking about, the accountability, the defense, all that stuff, like you don't, to me at least, my personal opinion, you don't get to question, right? And it'd be one thing if the young players weren't playing. I think everybody has to be happy with I mean, God knows RJ's playing a lot of minutes. Mitch's playing a lot of minutes. Quickly's playing a lot of minutes, except when he doesn't have it going, when he's struggling. And when he struggles, Tibbs takes him out. When he has it going, he lets him roll with it. You know, could Obi and Knox be getting a few more? Sure. But is that really the hill that you want to die on? Like, no, Obi Toppin can't be, he has to be getting 18 minutes a game. He can't be getting 12 minutes a game. Knox got to be getting 20, not like, you have to trust the process, not to use a Philly term, but I'm going to anyway. And as far as Emanuel Quickley goes, I mean, what's the line? I'm not cocky. I'm confident. Like it's tough to toe that line. Right. And like from when he got that first opportunity to start in that Cleveland preseason game and just comes out and just takes absolute control of the team. I think we knew then that this kid was different. Right. And that, as David was saying, commands the respect of the guys around him. Even when he doesn't have the ball, you see him at the top of the arc, commanding the offense, like directing guys around. Like, that's what you want. Is he a starting point guard long term? Is he going to be a six man? Like, I don't really care right now. I'm enjoying this, and I want to see it keep going.
Yeah, so certainly enjoying it all the while. And as you said, at 8 and 11, you can't really complain, especially where they're coming from. Sitting and competing. They're competing every night. That's all you could ask for. Have some quality wins this year, whether it's against Milwaukee, Boston, the Pacers. You know, they have some good wins this year for sure. So we definitely talked a lot of good. What are some areas of concern? You know, for me, I'll say that this offense, despite all the prowess that we just said about Julius and all the improvements and how he's making these guys better, offense is still stuck in the mud, still in the bottoms of the league. Terrible fast breaks, you know, 3-point shooting. Where do we go from here, man? How do we change that to give this offense a spark if we're going with the same five? You know, it doesn't seem like Quickley's going to be moving in there. But, you know, David, I'll start with you, man. Where do you go to give this offense a boost?
Well, I think that transition, you know, we have to improve a little bit there. And the 3-point shot, there's more that's to be desired there. But for the most part, I think there are times where, let's be honest, you know, our two premier scorers on the team are not necessarily the best on the 3-point line. Yeah. So, you know, when the ball's going to go through them for the most part, you know, they're dominant, they're able to command attention, and I'm glad that they're facilitating. Now it's just a matter of the bench whenever they are, you know, matched up with the starters at some point, or some of the starters at some point, that they have to produce. And that's something that's going to come along with the player development program that they have there and what Tibbs is going to put in terms of their offense. And at some point or another, it's funny, I was talking to somebody about this, where the Knicks have ran a form of a triangle offense at some point or another, and they've been able to have guys be able to facilitate off of that. The thing that makes me most concerned is just this back and forth between, you know, we could have Austin Rivers explode for one night, and then, you know, in terms of the minutes that he gets, I'm never going to be worried when Austin Rivers is on the floor. I know that he's a bucket. It's just a matter of him meshing with the other two guys that are on the floor as well, and then being able to have it to flow. So that's just something that's caught my attention, and I think they're going to find a way to fix it. Tibbs is a great coach. You know, we know his pedigree, but even dating back to his teams in Chicago, it wasn't like they were the, you know, offensive juggernauts of the league. They made defense their offense. So that's just something that we can keep an eye on for the rest of the season.
Macri, how about you, man?
I don't think the answer is on the roster right now. I think because it's such a delicate balance. Because, like, okay, so one thing that's obvious is get more shooting on the floor by staggering minutes, right? So trying to mix and match a little bit more, have opportunity moments where, you know, right now he's kind of traditionally like sticking to like, here's my first five, here's my second five. We've seen him divert from that a little bit recently at the end of a couple games ago, where he kind of when RJ sat on the bench for much in the Portland game, that's what it was, where he had Quickley, Rivers, and I think it was Burks out there in an attempt to come back, but at the same time, the consistency, I think, is part of the reason why they've been so good on the defensive end, right? Because guys are really getting used to playing with each other. And David could speak more to that than me. I have to think that the consistency of the playing time maybe has something to do with that, maybe not. But like as much as I just said everything, like you have to be happy with the start and like whatever Tibbs is doing, Tibbs knows Elfrid Payton is not helping him win basketball games.
Yeah.
Like he's not stupid. He's the worst starting point guard, and this is not a slight against him because he shouldn't be a starting point guard.
That's a fact.
In the league today.
He's a true backup point guard. Nothing wrong
he
with
is
it.
a backup point guard. He could be a good backup point guard in some other situation, just not in this one with the limitations of the other four guys. I think he is the best option that they have because I don't think Quickley is ready to step into a starting role quite yet. Maybe he gets there at some point. In any case, I think there's a move to be made. I don't know what that move is, to get someone in that spot who is, because it's like, he gets to the lane a lot. He gets all of his shots at the rim. But if you're not converting those at a commensurate rate, it's like it really. And the other thing, the last thing I'll say quickly on Payton, I just realized what I did there.
It's hard to not say quickly.
It is.
It's hard to not say quickly.
On these drives that he's missing these little 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 footers that lead to these 3 and 9s and 4 and 12, 4 for 12s every night.
Yeah.
He's not looking to pass on those as much as he should be. Like we could all see it. There are passes to be made that are not being made, and I think that's because the dude's in his own head a little bit. He knows what's like. He's on. These guys hear this stuff. So that's my cop out answer.
No, I agree, man, and that's why I would rather see Quickley out there struggle with the first unit more than see Payton. And I understand Tibbs's situation and how he kind of wants to bring him along slowly and in certain situations where he can succeed. And I think that's what's led to Quickley's start is being put in those positions. Conversely, you see him out there. Conley schooled him twice now. The Magic game when Clifford made his adjustments and put bigger guards on him and pressured the ball, Tibbs adjusted and put Payton back in, and that turned out to be the right move. So I see him trying to really put Quickley in the right situations to help the team succeed. I would just rather see him out there, with the first unit, with Randle, with RJ, and getting things going. But CK, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, and it's crazy. For once, there's no response that has to do with defense. Isn't that crazy? We're talking about a team like we've had our shooting problems. Like that's been a consistent thing for us. But there's nothing to point at with the defense. So unfortunately, I gotta go along with what David and J-Mac were saying. Like it is definitely around the offense, but specifically for me, the thing that really irritates me because I saw us do it really well at some part of this regular season, not just the preseason, is the ball movement. I feel like this team just plays so much better when the ball is moving around. And to the end of what Macri said, like Elfrid Payton gets it. I don't know if he's just in his head or just because the team is probably just trying to get the players to shoot more, keep shooting, Elfrid, keep shooting. That there's times where one of his biggest strengths of his game, which has always been moving the ball, now it's like
suffered,
you're not seeing that part of his game anymore. It's just really, confusing on that standpoint. And I'm not he's been a big part of it. We know that, but it's not only him. There's been a lot of instances where the ball is sticking to, like we were mentioning earlier, like as great as Austin Rivers has been, he's going to go out there, he's going to give you a bucket. But sometimes you feel like when he's out there, then the offense just stand still, let Austin Rivers do what he has to do. So for me, I've always been a big fan of ball movement, and it was really nice to see that happen with us. Julius Randle, I feel like that was one of the biggest changes to his game this year was, and even mentioned it. It was mentioned many times earlier on the season, is just trusting your teammates. And I feel like with a team like this where, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett have been doing great, but we don't really have that guy where you give him the ball, you're going to get an instant bucket. We don't have that guy right now. So the best case scenario is, pick and rolls, moving the basketball. And that's just something I wish we could see a little bit more with a guy like Mitchell Robinson, who is staying in games now. We don't really run many pick and rolls with him, so on and so forth.
Not a lot of Gotham Live for Mitch.
Exactly. We have not seen much of it at all this year. So, I think that's been one of the biggest things to me this year that's just really refreshing. And also the lack of transition. What game? It was was it the Brooklyn game? I can't remember. It was it was a Wednesday night game, but there was a 3-minute span where we got 3 stops, but our transition, this Julius Randle cut to the basket, threw the ball over his head, and it was a turnover. There was one time where we had a transition where Elfrid Payton went to the hoop, and instead of going for the layup, decided to pass back to RJ Barrett. Luckily, we didn't turn over the ball, but we lost it. Transition game is another thing that really bothers me. But, like I said, it all comes back to ball movement for me. And I agree with Macri. I just think that the answer to that question, I don't think is on this team right now.
Yeah, and probably not, man. And salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP, CK2K, David Zenon, Jonathan Macri is Knicks Film School. This is the Knicks quarter season report. Let's go to David Obi. You know Obi quite well. You've worked with him. Came in number 8 pick. Had a little bit of a setback with the calf injury. We haven't really seen him get activated. Randle's prowess now, puts Obi's playing time sort of in jeopardy. But let's talk about what we've seen on Obi on the court so far. What have you seen? What's been your reaction to how Obi's been playing so far?
Well, I've never trained Obi. I've known Obi prior to, the blow up with him in Dayton. And he's from Westchester, now in 4 stand up. But Obi is one of those guys. I was excited for him to be here. I love the fact that he's an elite rim runner. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's great passing out of the double teams. I was a little bit concerned with the adjustment to the league and the speed, because as talented and as athletic as he is, you're still coming up from a league in the A10 where you're not going to see the same caliber that you're going to see in the post every night that you're going to see in the league. It's not a knock on him. He's going to be fine. Fans, relax. Obi's going to be good. The most important thing about him is that he's, as I said, the knock on him coming in, a lot of fans had the issue was the fact that he's 22 and they're like, he's older and blah, 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 blah. He still physically is, upper echelon in terms of athlete. So you're going to get a guy that's a great rim runner. You're going to get a guy that's able to pass out of double teams, and he's going to learn. And once he's able to adjust to the game and he gets his shot right, I compared him to an Amari Stoudemire in terms of his frame and also his game, because is going to fit with that in terms of the pick and roll and then eventually pick and pop once that jump shot comes into play. So I'm not worried about him. Defensively, of course, all rookies are going to have moments where they're deer in the headlights and it happens. And, he had the issue with the calf, and we haven't seen enough from him so far to be like, he has issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you think the lack of training camp may have hurt him?
I mean, lack of training camp is always gonna. When you have lack of reps, it's always gonna be some sort of hindrance at some point or another. But by the same token, as I said, 22, he is a cerebral player. He's able to pick it up. His basketball acumen is pretty high. So for him, it's just a matter of getting back into the whole rhythm, the reps, and I think his calf is fine based off the video we saw in Utah. So Facts. So I think physically he's going to be fine. Mentally, all that stuff is going to click. It's just going to take, it's going to take a while for now, but I'm happy with him, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think we do have to be patient with him, but I think, I like the way he's out there. Just overall how he fits within the flow of the offense. I like his overall offensive awareness. His acumen, as he said, the passing ability was definitely been on display at certain times. Posting up, obviously doesn't seem like that's his strong suit, and it certainly wasn't at Dayton much either. And in the league, it hasn't really bode well for him. So I think we just need that point guard to get him activated, man. I think we really need that point guard to get him activated in the pick and roll, pick and pop situations. We'll see how it goes.
I'm not comparing him to this guy that I'm about to mention, but Blake Griffin coming into the league wasn't this, guy that's going to spread the floor and, be this big playmaker. We knew him as a dunker. We knew him as this explosive player in the paint. And, he's not back to the basket as much as Blake was. But Blake came in with having a CP3, a guy that's going to feed him with the roll, and a guy that's able to. So, yes, the point guard position is vital for Obi's development. I think Quickley, and then if we're able to have some sort of other point guard that's able to fill in and help Obi understand the role and things of that nature, that's when his game is really going to blossom.
CK on to you, man.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about him at all, to be completely honest. I know that, like I've been saying throughout the entire time, the minute something does not go right, People are jumping on him. I'm not worried about him at all. At first, I was thinking, the cap was a little bit more serious because he didn't look like he was doing a lot of those things that you mentioned. He wasn't looking to go inside at all or do anything. But I feel like looking back at a lot of these games, there were times where he was cutting and he was doing what Obi Toppin does. He just was being missed. So I feel like it comes back to a lot of the point guard play. I mean, him and Quickley was a lot of fun to watch. We saw the highlight dunks in the Boston game and stuff like that. And that's just more to his strength. He is a guy that's just all over the court, and he's really, really smart at doing that. But we just don't have the personnel to get him to his spots. Like I've yet to see him do a pick and pop. If he's been shooting the ball, I get the shots not falling, but that's fine. Rookie, it'll come. I'm not really too entirely concerned. But at the same time, it would be nice to see him do some pick and pops, see pick and rolls. But at the same time, the personnel to pair up with him, I just, like I said, I think the same thing that I've said for the starters goes for him. I just think it's just not there right now. So, his time will come, but I'm not worried about him at all, not even the slightest.
And Macri, how about you, man?
I mean, he's played 112 NBA minutes, and 0 of them have been in the situation he was at Dayton, which is as the lone, surrounded by 4 shooters.
Yeah.
Right. We still have yet to see him as the lone big, surrounded, spaced out. That's where he's going to be most dangerous. I completely agree with what David said. I think a point guard would do wonders for him. Not to say that Emanuel Quickley is not good, but he's learning the position. He's a rookie. He's learning the position at this level. It is what it is. But I just let me see that dude in space, just a little bit, being able to roll down the lane unabated. Like, that's why you draft that guy 8th. I mean, Amari Stoudemire made 5 first team all NBA selection or 5 all NBA, whatever, as a finisher. Like, he wasn't creating offense. Like, he wasn't backing
with Steve Nash.
Yeah. It's
point
like,
guard, man.
And that's if you have a guy that could finish at that level, that's an incredibly valuable thing to have. Yeah. And from what we've seen so far, it's not like the finishing is going to be a problem if he gets an opportunity. But we just have to make sure he gets the opportunity. And that's, and that's a team building question for Leon Rose. And it gets into some dicier issues moving forward. But I echo everybody else said. I'm not worried.
Gonna be interesting to see, man, because with Randle stepping his game up, I don't know how they move on in the future with these two, man. I really don't. I really don't know how they manage this thing, man. People say, talent is a good problem to have, but I don't know. That Leon's gonna have his hands full with that one.
I think there's a way though, because Julius Randle's a really smart offensive basketball player, right? Yeah. And David was saying before, Obi's a really smart. He's a cerebral player. Like you could see that. So and it's not like Randle. Man, it's crazy to say, but he's getting to the point where teams may at some point in the next couple of years have to respect him a little bit on the perimeter. Like, that's a game changer. Yeah. And if Obi can also be a guy that teams have to respect. And again, we get so boxed in sometimes when we talk about this stuff in terms of how are you going to build around these two guys? Like, there's 48 minutes in a game. And really, if you're talking about, okay, let's try to get Obi how many minutes at center, right? Surrounded by shooters. 15 minutes? Is that a good amount? Like, there's ways to make it work. It's just, it's tough.
Yeah.
NBA is positionless basketball now, man, so right. There are ways to make it work. And just like what John was saying, surround them with shooters, and they can play off of each other eventually. That's not something where I'm too concerned about it.
Yeah.
You're talking about a lightning thunder situation, high, low, maybe even where, as John was mentioning, guys are going to have to respect Randle's ability to shoot from the perimeter. If Obi's able to have a semblance of a perimeter game, why not? You know what I mean? So it's something where it's a good problem to have. I'd rather have that than to say one of these guys are really bad.
Exactly.
So it's something. I think it's something you could build off of.
True story, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Salute the Shells, Bricks Nation, Robert Paris. How you feeling? Gotham in here. How's everybody doing in the chat? Speaking of bigs, let's talk about Mitch, man. Monster Mitch, the block nest monster, the anchor of this defense. A guy that you could point to when you talk about player development, especially on the defensive end under Tibbs. You could talk about that with Mitch. Certainly improved on his defensive rebounding, averaging eight defensive boards this year. Wasn't too great at it last year. I think Mitch has definitely upped his game there. Now after this game against Utah, he came out with the tweet that was deleted, and a lot of Gen Z energy, Macri, if you will. You know what I mean? A lot of that, in their feelings type of energy, but people are now alluding to the fact that or assuming that, he's unhappy with his role in the offense or wants to have more opportunity. I don't know. What do you read into the whole Mitch situation?
I think he's I don't know. He's a teenager.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
He's I teach 13-year-old girls. I know how they act. I don't know how else to say it. Like, that doesn't make him a bad guy.
Right.
That doesn't make him a locker room cancer. That makes him an immature, person that sent out we've all done it. We're older than him, when you're not happy with something. For me, the questions about Mitch have more to do with the last discussion we were having about the long-term fit on the team and how do you build this thing. But I just, on the court, I'm been incredibly impressed with him this year on defense. I think they're really asking him to do a lot in the pick and roll, in just because of how they're guarding it, right? Mm-hmm. And he hasn't been perfect, but it's really hard to be perfect when you have that kind of responsibility. And is he Gobert? No, he's not Gobert yet. He's probably never going to be Gobert, but right. Can he be a top 5 defensive center? I think what we've seen from him this year leads me to believe that he can. But just, from a team building perspective, it's tough to have, I think, a guy, if you're, again, with Julius and with Obi and with Mitch, basically competing for 3 spots, and 2 of those guys are going to be a big part of your offense. What do you pay a guy like Mitch, who maybe in the playoffs is only going to wind up playing 20 minutes a game in some playoff series, depending on matchups and whatnot, or 25 minutes a game. And, I don't know. That's a question for his agent, whichever one.
Whoever it is. It might be me by the time he comes around, man. It might be me, man.
Listen, at some point he's going to run out of that blue book is only so many names deep.
It might be me representative, man. But, CK, as Macri said, defensively, you've seen the improvements there. Hasn't fouled out at all this year. Hasn't hit more than 4 fouls this year. Playing a lot more disciplined basketball, durable. You know what I mean? The blocks are down, but again, playing a lot more discipline and impacting the game, altering shots, things of that nature. And he's been tested. He's been tested early, man. He's seen Gobert twice. He's seen Drummond. They play the Cavs almost every other day, it seems like. Man. He's seen Sabonis a couple of times. So I think it's good experience for Mitch. And I think, like I said, he's definitely been the anchor of this defense, man. What's been your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's much to say about the defense except for, like Mac just mentioned, the pick and roll. He's trying. He's learning it. He's figuring it out. That's probably been the weakest point of his defense, but they're asking for a lot so he's doing the best that he can with that. But my thing has always been, and it probably connects to everything we've mentioned already so far, but I just want to see him more involved in the offense. It's just so upsetting. Before we go on, I'm not saying I want him to be shooting threes, and I'm not on that.
Really
I'm
sure
not over
that's
there.
Even realistic.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I've mailed that in. I'm not there, but at the same time, I feel like he does a good job with it. It plays hand in hand with his high field goal percentage, but I feel like the only time Mitch scores is if it's off of garbage points or the occasional 2 assists that come off of RJ Barrett from time to time. But I feel like there's so many opportunities that we're missing out on. We don't run the pick and roll with him too often. I mean, we don't run the pick and roll too often at all.
I like to see those two guys, getting that guy from Lab a lot more.
Agreed.
I would love it. It would be great. And we've seen it a few times that Emanuel Quickley is on the floor with them. I feel like that's just such a lost thing that we're not really taking advantage of, especially with the way that the defense has been playing on us sometimes. I feel like it's something that we could be taking advantage of against some of these teams. And that might not necessarily be his fault, but of anything to point out with Mitch Robinson, that's just the one thing I missed. Like you mentioned, like the Gotham lob has been it's been on standby this entire season. I think we have probably a handful of lobs for the entire season, and we're about 19 games in, about to be 20. So I think that's the one thing that I would love to see more of. Not no post ups and stuff. I think we can all agree that's just not his game.
Yeah,
that's not who he is. But there's still a lot of things that he can do, and he's shown that he can do. Now that he's staying on the court, I just want to see him do a little bit more offensively. But again, is that him? Is that coaching? Is that point guard play? There's a lot of questions there that I don't know if we even have the answers for that one.
Yeah, David, what's been your assessment of Mitch's play on the court this season?
I mean, Mitch has been working hard. He worked hard in the off season. Obviously talking to him and seeing the work that he's been put in. It's interesting to see. He's been so disciplined on the defensive end, and that was one of those things where it's crazy to see. He hasn't played basketball for that long. You know what I mean? Like he's still pretty raw, and he's just great with his athletic ability and whatnot. So in terms of his role in the offense expanding, I think that's just one of those things where it's situational. Coaching is going to put him in a certain situation where it's going to benefit the team. And just like, Tibbs mentioned, and I could attest to this too, he's coming early, he stays late, he works hard at his game. But right now, at this point in time, there's a certain role that Tibbs has him in, and he's just going to fit into that role. And, and everything else, the stuff that he's worked on in terms of the jump shot and the offensive game, and it will come when the time is appropriate. But as of right now, this is something where Tibbs is going to focus on how are we going to help the team win first, and his role as a guy that's a pick and roll player, and he's able to finish around the rim. He's, as we said, a great athlete, but he's still raw. So we have to keep that in mind. And, year 3 is the year where you're going to make that jump. I wholeheartedly believe that he will.
Yeah, hope so, man. And I hope it's with the Knicks. I hope they, end up coming to a deal with him. I think he's about 2 years away, Macri.
Well,
I think they have a team option, right? How does,
that's what makes it interesting.
Like?
If they want to make him a restricted free agent, which is like this is what happens with second-round picks, and we saw with the Nuggets with Nikola Jokic a few years ago. If they want to make him restricted, they decline the 4th-year option this summer, and then they have his restricted rights, so they could match any offer. Or they pick up his 4th-year option, and he plays for them next year for $1.8 million. And then he becomes an unrestricted free agent and he enters the market in 2022. You still have his bird rights, so you could still go above the cap to sign him. You can give him the 5th year. Like there's still advantages that come with that. But his contract situation, I think, will depend on some other dominoes. Like what do they think they have a chance at this summer, next summer? Like all these things work together.
True story, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's get those likes up. We got almost 800 people watching on YouTube right now. Let's get those likes up like Reddit did the stock market. Send this thing through the roof so that they got to change the rules. You know what I'm saying, fellas? Let's get those likes up. We got a quarter season report going on. CP, David Zenon, CK2K, Jonathan Macri in here. And, man, Reddit had the stock market in a frenzy, man. They had to change the rules on them, man. Sheesh. And if any of you guys benefited from GameStop, man, throw a super chat in here. It's CashApp, hashtag KnicksFanTV, anything, man.
Least you could do.
I'll take an SNES cartridge if anybody has that. You can mail that to my house.
That's it, man. That's it. So I see a couple people on the phones. We're gonna get to you guys in a second, but this has definitely been a good roundtable discussion. I guess the next question is, what's next, right? This team is currently sitting in 8-11. Had some quality wins. We're seeing progress. We're seeing guys shining. What's next? Does this kind of change the direction or change the strategy of this team? Are they gonna talk trades? Bradley Beal now is the topic of conversation these last couple of days. I don't know, man. I hate these fantasy trades, man. But the people want us to talk about Beal. Macri, go ahead, man. What's your takes on this Bradley Beal fiasco, man?
Here's the thing. When you're making a trade in the NBA nowadays for a player of Bradley Beal's caliber, you give up so much draft equity. There's not a question. You're going to give up draft equity. I don't know if it's going to be 2 picks and 2 swaps or whatever. It's a lot. So when you have that level of downside risk, and it doesn't matter what team you are, what franchise, there's downside risk to that, right? You have to have the commensurate ceiling, right? Which is why we see the teams like the Bucks, like the Lakers, like the Nets, who have executed superstar trades in the last several years. Like, their ceiling is we could win the whole thing,
right?
Because that has to be the ceiling if you're going to give up the draft equity, not to mention possibly the young players that the Knicks would have to give up. So that ceiling does not exist for the Knicks right now, and there is no other move. Like, unless somebody knows something about Kawhi Leonard, like I don't know, does he want to trade out, like, I don't know, what do they have in street tacos, right? Taco carts? Does he want to trade those for street meat? Yeah. I mean, halal. Listen, I would go cross country for halal food. I love halal food. I don't know if Kawhi Leonard wants to do that. So unless he's coming, there is no move that you're making, in the near future, that you could accompany with a Bradley Beal trade that I think is going to put them at that level, which means you're exposing yourself to really significant risk without giving yourself a real opportunity to capitalize fully. Does it mean it's necessarily the wrong move? No, but with what it's going to cost to get that dude, my goodness.
And that's why, for me, I don't take that risk, man, because it's like, what are you doing after that? What are you doing after you sell the whole house for Bradley Beal? Because as you said, Macri, number one, I don't think they have a play on this roster that, if Philly wanted to give up Ben Simmons, it would be that type of move. We don't have that caliber guy. Yeah, Julius is getting there, but when you don't have those ready-made, established, star-for-star trade, you got to give up the house in terms of young players and draft capital and all of that. And then it's like, once you get them here, what do you have left? What are you building with next, right? He's sulking in D.C. He's got Westbrook. What is he gonna do here after you give up the whole house to get him, and then you got to figure out what you're gonna build with him after that. It's a hardened situation all over again for me. And like Macri said, unless Worldwide West is in the back room talking to Kawhi, right, saying this is the next domino to fall if we get this. To me, I'm on the outside, man. I say no to this. Listen, I love Bradley Beal. To me, he's super talented. I think he's underappreciated in this league. 35 points a game? Wait, is he 35 points a game?
Should have made the All-NBA team last year. That was criminal. Lord. that he did not.
Criminal. Yeah. Criminal, man. So yeah, I'm out on it. Listen, I respect his talent, but we're just not there. We're just not there. We're just not there. We gotta continue to build the infrastructure. And then you make those moves when you're ready to take that leap to go over the hill. David, what's your take on it?
Just build from the ground up. I know it's enticing. We want to trade for a guy like that, but then when you give up a lot of the assets and all the things that have been able to be put in place, then just like we've been mentioning before, what are we left with after we make this trade? Or what are they left with after they make that trade? I wholeheartedly trust what Leon Rose is doing and the rest of the front office. I mean, it is a smart front office. Mm-hmm. And just like I've tweeted before, and, I was excited about Leon, and then I was excited about Walt Perrin, and then Wes. And I'm like, this is a competent group. It's not like we're over here hoping, something's going to fall into our laps and they're going to make up all these, crazy trades or free agent rumors or whatever. But bottom line is we finally have a young group that's talented that we could build up. I mean, I understand patience has been worn beyond.
It's not working.
It doesn't work. But this is actually a very good group. And just if we really focus on player development, we're able to focus on those little things, we could build up from the ground up.
Yeah, and CK, I agree with that, man. We have a new regime, and I do think this is still going to be an aggressive rebuild, but I don't think as soon as they get here, they're just going to toss everything out for this type of trade. I just don't see it, man. What's your take?
Yeah, that's not the way to go. That it's just as simple as that. They both J-Mac and David hit the nail on the head. Like this is it's great, it'd be cool, and we're seeing that this front office is getting mad aggressive look at IQ, how we got IQ, the journey of how IQ became a Knick. You know, they're mad aggressive, but at the same time, they're also very smart. And as enticing as this was, we survived Russell Westbrook. And I think we're going to survive this Bradley Beal, you know, enticement. It's just not going to happen. And it wouldn't make sense for it to happen because he comes here and it's just going to be the New York Wizards.
It's going to be the New York Wizards.
If you look at who Bradley Beal is playing with, like, I'm looking at Isaac Bonga. I'm looking at Chris Matt. Like, I'm looking at the guys he's playing with. And unfortunately, then he's going to be playing with similar guys because the only guys surviving will be Ignas Brazdeikis, who will get his minutes. So some fans will be excited about
might
that.
say, hey, Frank might still be
the starting point guard.
And Frank might be in the backcourt running and gunning, man. That might be Frank's window.
That might
Imagine
be the time,
that. Imagine that.
And then we're watching the Wizards get our first overall pick with the Knicks pick. And it's just like, we don't want to go through that. We don't want to go through that. So as exciting as it would be, I'm 100% with David on this. Just build from the ground up. This is not the move. If there's a move to be made, this one is the one we say, sorry, but not right now. This ain't the one. This is not the one.
CP, you mentioned the whole Reddit thing before. Like, how do you work the stock market? You buy low and you sell high.
Yeah.
Think about it's a you know, a curt way to look at it, but if you think of all of the assets on this team and you compare their value right now to what it was before the season started, I would say other than maybe Obi Toppin, all of the valuations have gone up. RJ's valued higher. God knows Randle is valued higher. Mitch is valued higher. Knox, a little bit, but he's valued higher. Quickly, valued way higher. Like, all of these guys have higher value. Even the guys they signed in free agency, Burks, a little higher value. So rather than look to cash out after, what has it been, 19 games? Let's see maybe another, you know, month or so and see where the valuation could be then, or God forbid, a whole year with this crew. That said, it doesn't, like, you could be aggressive, but be aggressive where it's smart for you to be aggressive, where you're not giving up a lot, where you're buying low. All right. For once, the Knicks never buy low. Yeah. But I think maybe that opportunity might be out there.
Yeah, I agree, man. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the last time that I was on this show, I made mention of the fact that a lot of the Frank fans were upset with me because I was mentioning about trading him. And it was because of the fact that at that point in time, out of the pieces that we could have moved, we're not moving RJ, we're not moving Mitch, but we had an asset that at the time we can move in low, high, whatever. So just like John was mentioning, we have pieces now that all of their value have gone up. So it's not like it's a matter of you saying, well, we can afford to get rid of all these guys. We really can. I mean, this is actually a pretty solid core. So when you have a guy that's able to be traded out of the, you know, 4 real young players that we have, that's something where you could take a look at and say, okay, what could we get in return for him that we could help build up with the rest of this group, not just blow up the whole thing. So that's just something where you have to keep that in mind. And as enticing as Beal is, I just got to stay away from him.
Listen, I would love him. I would love him, but we're just not there yet, man. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet, man. So, and I think as far as, you know, Lonzo's name has been thrown out there, Derrick Rose. So I think they'll go to war with this group and let the chips fall where they may. I'm just not sure there's a trade out there that they would. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think there's a trade out there that they would try to make just to solidify an 8th seed or better? I just think that they might just go with what they have. What do you think, Mac?
I don't think it's about making a trade to go for the 8th seed. I think it's about taking advantage of the market. And they are in the advantageous position of having $17 million in cap space when nobody else has, you know, much to speak of. And I know there hasn't been a lot of reporting on it, but like the notion that there aren't owners out there who are looking to offload salary is crazy. I like that has to be the case. So I think they're going to sit it out. I think they're just going to wait. I think they're going to be patient. And I think come when we get to the trade deadline, I don't know who it's going to be. I'm not going to pretend to sit here like I know, but I think there's going to be a trade, and I think it's going to involve them to borrow something that Schwinn from Strickland wrote about in an article a few months ago, weaponizing their cap space, right? And using it to their advantage, because it's like teams are going to want to dump money In some, it may not be the traditional way that we think of. It's like, we'll give you this, like, take on our bad contract for a first round pick, but there will still be ways to utilize that cap space in a positive fashion, I believe.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see, man. Definitely going to be interesting to see. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP, Jonathan Macri, CK2K, and David Zenon in the building. I'm going to get to the phones in a second, but let me salute the super chat. Salute to Jay Breezy NY. He says, holy crap, Macri, CP, and CK on the same pod, plus a Zenon appearance. Absolute must watch. Bummed that I missed the first 50 minutes. Jay Breezy, appreciate it. Hey, you could always hit rewind, man. You could always hit rewind and watch on demand, man. But definitely appreciate the shout out. Michael Parker, number one fan of the show, says the stock market has been very, very good to your boy. Salute Knicks Nation. Salute to the panel. Hey, Michael, man, I'm glad somebody got to win, man. Somebody has to win in this thing. So I'm glad that it's you, bro. So definitely salute to you. And salute to Oscar DeLeon. He says, I'm trying to read Oscar's comment. Oscar says, I can't read Oscar's comment once. I'll get to your comment in a second, Oscar. I lost it, but definitely appreciate the super chat. Let me get to the phones. Let's start with JJ from Brooklyn. JJ, how you feeling, bro?
Yo, what up, bro? What's going on, fellas? A couple things real quick. That's a few positives so far. To me, definitely RJ, especially his last, 7-8 games. He's been really, really efficient. The only thing that's bothering me is he's not getting the touches in the second half the last 4 or so games. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but he's got to get more touches, in the second half of these games. And definitely Quickley, obviously, he was looking like a steal. One thing I want to ask all you guys is, once teams start taking away that floater, like Conley, he was all over and playing him really tight. What do you think that his next step should be once they start taking that away? And then another positive, obviously, Randle, the spinning into double and triple teams is gone. Defensively, he's been great. He's sharing the ball. I still think I would debate selling high on Randle, especially because Obi's just not going to get the minutes. So the only thing you could do is just go small and take Mitch out at certain times. And I got to say, a couple negatives, in my opinion, I know some people may disagree, is Mitch and Knox. I was really hoping third year Knox, at this point, third year, he's only a Knox. Pretty much just a corner three-point shooter. He really has no creativity. He doesn't finish at the hoop. I was just hoping he would show a little more. And then Mitch, he always gets beat up by the big centers. The strong centers. You got Drummond tomorrow, who's probably going to dominate him again. I was hoping to see a little more offense. I know you see the Instagram videos, and he was complaining about not getting touches, but his free throws last year, his free throws looked pretty solid. This year, it's like he doesn't want to be at the line. There's no confidence. So I'm just not sure he has the offense that he thinks he has. And then, but you can't complain too much just because, we're 8-11. We had a rough schedule. I know the remaining first half of the schedule, I don't think they came out with the second half of the schedule yet, but I know we have, according to each team's schedule, we have the easiest schedule of the remaining first half of the schedule. So, we can't complain the way we're playing. You hope Dallas keeps losing. Maybe somehow that's a lottery pick. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, burn, baby, burn.
That's
I love
it. Appreciate it. Fellas.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. All right, so JJ had a lot to say there. He said RJ not getting enough touches. Now, Burks' return, I think, could impact that, especially in the lineups with Julius and Peyton. Because you have 3 guys that are a bit more high usage guys. I hope Tibbs sees that and makes that adjustment, man, because I just like the way the offense moves when the ball's in RJ's hands. I mean, who wants to take that one? What do you guys think? Or CK, Macri, whoever wants to take that.
It's not a worry for me personally because I feel like RJ is, I don't know how many shots he's putting up. Like, yeah, is there a possession here or there where he doesn't touch the ball that he should? Sure. But I think the intentionality behind the offense at all times is pretty pure. I think everybody is looking to make the right play. They may not always make the right play, but I don't think at any point in time we're looking at an offense where it's like, oh, they're clearly going to this thing that they shouldn't be going to, because the one thing that they go to a lot is Randle, and it's to draw double teams. And when he draws double teams, he makes whatever the appropriate kick out passes. I don't think we've seen Randle force a lot of that. So that's, I don't know. It's just me. It's not something I've personally been worried about, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think they pointed to it more because of Jazz game. It's recency bias. You know what I mean? I think it's more because of Jazz game. You certainly saw more of that. On the Mitch thing, look, Mitch his size is his size. He's never gonna be Shaq. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna come up. There's very few guys like that. Andre Drummond is one of the last like true. You have Embiid, you have Drummond. Gobert is kind of similar size to Mitch, but still kind of overpowers him a little bit. And Sabonis is Sabonis, but I think, I'm sure Mitch is going to, put on maybe a little bit more size, but, I'm not sure there's much he can do in that regard. David, what do you think?
I mean, that pecking order has been put into place already. We know that RJ is one of the cornerstones of the franchise, and, Randle's been the leading scorer and all that. So situationally, yes, there might be times where he might not touch the ball. And just like what you said, recency bias, it's kind of like, listen, if the last thing I could base the team off of is the last game I watched, then I'd be like, oh my God, he didn't touch the ball the last 3 minutes. How dare he? Listen, guys, it happens. It's just the way that teams are going to match up and they're going to play you. And they realize that RJ's a threat regardless. Walking into any game, any matchup they have, teams are going to focus on him and Randle. So that's the first part. And then when Burke's coming back, his aggressiveness could actually help open up the floor for RJ and Randle. So, it's a catch-22 either way you're going to look at it. And then in terms of Mitch, he's not going to be a Shaq. He's not going to be, one of these, big bruising centers. He's a guy with a great body. He's got broad shoulders, but he's filling into his body. We just talked about the fact that the kid just turned 20. You know what I mean? It's not like this situation where you're talking about a guy like Gobert who's been in the league for a while. Right. He's got his grown man strength. He understands how to work certain angles, things like that. Mitch is going to learn that. Mitch is going to still put on some size. Anthony Davis at one point or another was pretty skinny coming into the league as well.
Facts.
And that boy has filled in. And, AD worked with the same guy that Mitch works with down in Louisiana. So, listen, it's going to come into play. He's going to fill into his, his grown man body, his old man strength, whatever you want to call it. He's going to get it. So that's something that's going to come into play later on. But as for now, he's got to get bruised up a little bit. Got to get banged up a little bit and learn the game. But I'd rather him be on the floor and not have more than 4 fouls at some point during the season than him just putting on a bunch of weight, losing his athleticism, and then still going back to the drawing board. So it is what it is at this point.
And I do believe that even though it's not the way that some fans might want to see it, there are changes. I mean, outside of just the lack of basically being able to stay on the court compared to last year. And there's so many things that he is doing so much better. Like, people complained about his screen setting, and he's doing such a better job at that. It's going to come. I think everything David just said is perfect. I'm not really worried about it. And with Alec Burks, he missed a lot of games. We forget how high his percentage was when he was here and he was letting it fly. He was doing his thing, and now he's coming back and he's trying to get back in the flow of things, and that's what you expect. RJ did what he had to do in 11 shots, 17 points. Like, he did what he had to do. The touches will come. It was just everybody getting back into the rotation, and I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to complain because of just how the Utah game went. We'll be all right. We're
talking about a playoff team in Utah and guys that
probably the hottest team in the league.
Honestly. By far,
the hottest team in the league.
Exactly.
No
I mean, they're actually one of those teams that people have talked about. Like, if they're able to make that trade for Beal, I mean, you're talking about guys that they have a confident backcourt. They have a phenomenal backcourt. Donovan and Conley. So it's like, you look at the way that they're able to play teams defensively and then attack you offensively, we can't be upset with the outcome that we had out there in Utah.
100%. Yeah. How about Kev? Kev started the season off fairly hot from the 3-point stripe. We gave him a nickname. He was Corner Boy Kev, and he was coming in, knocking it down. It was good to see. Obviously, we like the attentiveness on defense as compared to previous years. He's since cooled off. And I think what JJ was saying is we haven't really seen much intermediate, in the in between. It's either 3-pointers or nothing. Kind of when he's putting the ball on the floor, he's kind of looking a little uncoordinated. The mid range hasn't really been there. Hasn't really been able to finish strong at the rim as much as you like to. And because Kev has that size and that length that you feel like he can certainly do it, but it just hasn't been there this year. David, what's been your observations of Kev so far?
Last year, when we were on the show, or when I was on the show, I mentioned the fact that, there were a lot of things that were going on with him in terms of changing his mechanics, changing the shot, not because he's afraid of the moment, but just because when you're trying to figure out something where you're going to be in that rhythm, that's something that you're always going to go to as a shooter. And whether it's changing the shot pocket, changing your fingertips, whatever. Kev came out shooting phenomenal. Was looking super confident, and the motor wasn't the issue. That was something where a lot of people were afraid of. Yeah. He's, too laid back, or his motor's off, whatever. He doesn't get these stops. So now I'm just wondering, where is it coming into play where he's kind of falling back into those habits that he had, where he went into that, slump last year. Mm-hmm. And I don't see him going into the abyss where that, he did have a little bit of a streak during the year where it's just we couldn't rely much on what Kevin was doing from the corner. He's going to get that confidence back. I think it's just a matter of, what Johnny Bryant's going to be doing with them is, the guards and the wings, and then even have a little bit of Kenny Payne and the rest, and what's all these guys, they're able to have a different voice. And it's just what are we going to do now? The sky is falling. I'm not shooting. I'm not hitting my shots. Every shooter at some point or another has a slump. They'll break out of the slump. I think Kev's thing is just the confidence, and then also the matchup. You're talking about the fact that he didn't have a lot of mid-range shots. Teams aren't looking to necessarily run him off the three-point line to force him to put up those mid-range shots. They're forcing him off the line to be physical with him. This way, he's just going to get rid of the ball. Yeah. And I think that more and more times, players are going to look to, they're just going to look to get rid of the ball to keep the offense moving than to get rid of the ball to distribute, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? To kind of make the next play. So I think that's where Kevin is kind of in that little bit of a limbo.
Yeah, stuck.
Where he's I'm in the corner, I'm situated, but I'm not making the play.
Yeah, good points, man. CK,
and I think, I was just going to add, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I really think it's the same thing that I just mentioned. I mean, we are having players coming back. So, he was one of the guys that we had to rely on to be corner pocket Kev, because we were missing a lot of offense. But now a lot of our offensive weapons are coming back. We don't have Reggie Bullock right now, but we got guys like Austin Rivers that are going to get their shots. Alec Burks is going to get his shots. And on top of that, we already know about Julius and RJ and those kind of guys. So, yeah, he's just, I feel like, a lot comes to him doing what he was doing, but now trying to fit into that offense with these other guys that are very dominant, ball dominant guys. I just feel like it's a lot of things that just it's gonna have to sort itself out, because we keep forgetting we were not healthy for the majority of the season so far. So now that we're starting to get bodies back, people have to understand the role and know how to fit into the role or fit into the minutes that they're getting and stuff like that. So maybe that's an excuse. But that's how I see it as, because, he went from shooting around 9, 7, 8 shots a game to only 3, 2, in the last few games when we were getting Burks and Rivers back. So I just feel like it's just a combination of everybody trying to figure out how to play with each other for once, because we're finally all becoming healthy again.
Yeah, finally getting the full strength, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. All right, let's run through some calls real quick. Let's go to Omar from Brooklyn. Omar, how you feeling, man?
Shout out to your boy.
Well, yeah.
It is great to be talking to the legend, the man, the myth. I also want to give a shout out to the future Knicks draft picks. My son, Khalil, and his brother, Yusuf, just born on Saturday.
Oh, nice. Congratulations, man. Congratulations, bro.
Nice.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the it's great to be talking to the esteemed experts. All right. I'm going to ask you guys to put on the, Dionne Warwick, psychic friends hotline, except it not being a scam. I want you to predict for me, all right, RJ, IQ, Mitchell Robinson. In 5 years, which of these players are we going to be talking about the most? who is going to reach their potential? Love to get your reaction.
That's a question. Appreciate the call, man. Who
That's a
wants
good
to start that one? Macri, go ahead, bro.
I mean,
Take myself out of this one.
It's got to be RJ Barrett.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
He's I don't know. I'm like, gosh, I've run out of things already. We're 19 games in. I've run out of things to say about him because he's just, he took all of the criticism and everything, and he threw it right back in everybody's face.
True story.
There is, at this point, I struggle to see a world where he is not making a significant impact on NBA games, and that's irrespective of what parts of his game progress specifically at a certain rate. It's like the dude is putting his impact on. He's figuring it out. He clearly puts in the work. That said, don't sleep on Quickley. I mean, if you could shoot,
still a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie and he could shoot. That's all there is to it, and he can handle the ball, and he could draw fouls. Like, he does some really good stuff. So, but yeah, no, RJ would be my answer.
GK, how about you, man?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be across the board. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to, and that's no slight to Mitch and IQ. It's just like everything J Mac just said. Like, it would be very hard for me not to see in 5 years' time RJ Barrett not becoming even better than what he is right now at the age of 20 years old, like making some sort of impact on the court. Like, yeah, he'll definitely be somebody that we would be talking about still for sure of the list of names. But again, IQ's still a rookie, so maybe there's that next jump. It's too early to tell, but if I'm calling it right now, I got to go with RJ Barrett. I got to.
David,
let's bump the brakes real quick, okay? First, we got to see how RJ does in the G League, and then we'll.
That's great. That's good.
I'm kidding. RJ, man. Goodness, you're putting me in a tough spot. RJ and Mitch. I mean, RJ's the guy that's going to be having the ball in his hand most of the time, though.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about a guy 6'7", he's got a great frame, and he's going to grow even more. And he's going to, in terms of physically and mentally. RJ Barrett's a special player, and, I've been beating that drum since the days of Duke, and I'm like, fans, please, the kid's going to be worth the 3rd overall pick. You guys are going to like him for a long time to come. So, yeah, RJ, man, I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's RJ as well. Only 20 years old, and what he's doing so far, I think, like I said, taking the next step in his sophomore year has been really impressive. Strong as hell right now, only going to get stronger, and once he knows like who he can muscle and how he gets to his spots, I think he's going to be even more dangerous if he can continue his prowess, and get better from the free throw line. I think he's going to be just fine. As a playmaker, I think he's going to step his game up as well. I think IQ has definitely surprised me for sure. We're still not sure if that's our guy. Is that our guy? Is that our point guard of the future? Who knows what they do in this upcoming draft? Maybe IQ's role is better as off the bench, as an instant offense kind of guy, or just a backup point guard, which will still help this team. I mean, I think based on what we've seen so far, IQ definitely has a role here for the future. So I think it comes down to those two guys, but RJ is definitely the one that I'm going to go with right now. But Omar, salute to you. Congratulations. Salute to Omar for the Dionne Warwick reference for some of us old heads in this chat, man. A lot of you youngins didn't know about that one. That
appreciated
went over your head.
That was good.
Yeah, that one was
Got
good.
that one too.
Salute to Dionne Warwick in that, man, for sure. What's Dave telling me right now? Oh, he's telling me that our guy is in the building. And we got to go right to him. It's Jay Boogie from North Carolina. Jay Boogie's in the building. What's going on, bro? Takes him a little while to,
Peace and love to everybody on the board. Appreciate y'all this night. But first thing first, I got to start off and tell y'all, if nobody's been telling y'all because y'all visited, continue on staying safe and healthy. Continue on washing your hands. Continue on protecting your family because that thing is still out there.
Facts.
Talk to me.
CK2K, it's good to see you aboard, man, because I'll be supporting your show during the daytime, man. And I figured if it ain't a Knick game, you might be resting. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see you, man. But I got a couple of questions, man. But before I do that, I am the promoter of Give That Boy Them Keys. I'm talking about Quick. I promote Give Him Them Keys. but I'm gonna give y'all the reason why I say give him them keys, and so everybody get my understanding why I say that. I say give him them keys because ain't but 3 Paytons ever did anything in their life. Rest in peace to Walter, Gary Payton, and Peyton Manning. Get that Peyton we got on that Knicks team out the way. That's the only reason why I want Quickley in the starting lineup. I do know he is a 10-year brand new Lou Williams. We do not have our point guard yet. I do know he is a Lou Williams, and I'm glad to have him. I got 2 quick questions. One going to J Mac. J Mac, how long do you think it'll be before RJ realizes this is his team, he is the face, before he start taking full control of the team and allowing them to follow his lead at times? Because sometimes he'll go and play and won't even say nothing to nobody. And most, face value players of their team, they do speak out amongst the team. I do know he is the leader of our team, even though Julius is doing what he's doing. Julius is not guaranteed to be there. And the other question go to Dave, you're a trainer. I think that's the gym sit behind you. If that is, man, salute you, man. You putting in work right there when ain't no work going on. I salute you, man. But quick question to you is, how long does it take for you to realize a person's weakness? And if you're training him, when he starts training with you, how much do you take away of his strong points so you could develop his weakness? Peace to the panel, CP. Have a good night. I'll see y'all Friday, and I'll listen to y'all answers.
Yes, sir. Salute to my guy, Jay Boogie, man. Always a 5-star call. Throw a 5 in the chat for Jay Boogie right now.
I'm honored.
There's only
I'm honored
3,
that I got asked the question.
3 Paytons that haven't meant anything.
Wow. That was... I feel bad.
Jokes, man.
I feel bad for Peyton Pritchard in Boston. I feel bad for... man.
I heard it yet.
Well, let me answer his question. When does he realize? I think he came into the league, and again, I'm sure David would know a lot more about this than I would. I think there was definitely a push and pull between, or maybe not push and pull, tug of war. I don't know, subtle. So it was subtle between him and Julius last year, and this year he seems to be more just like. Not that he wasn't always trying to do the right thing for the team last year. I thought he felt that he needed to come in and be that dominant guy to help the team. And now it's more like, okay, as they've all been preaching, share the ball, right? Make the right pass. Always the right pass. And I think he's bought into that. I mean, he's taking fewer shots per 36 minutes than he was last year. His usage rate is lower. So he's definitely not forcing it. When does it happen? I don't know. Next year, I want to say, but at the same time, I almost don't want to disparage the possibility of Julius Randle continuing to get better because that dude's only 26 years old, right?
Yeah.
But I would say, like, RJ knows David said it before. RJ knows he's the face of this franchise. Everybody knows he's the face of this franchise. That's not a question. So does he need to put up the numbers to back that up? I don't know. Do you guys think he feels like he needs to do that? I'm not so sure.
I think what he's alluding to is the fact that you don't really see him being the vocal leader on the court, or demanding the ball from certain guys and things of that nature. Especially when
is that him?
Is getting by.
Right.
That just might not be his game.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, knowing RJ, he's not rah rah, but
I can imagine.
Bottom line, you don't need to be rah-rah to be a dog.
Yeah.
Facts.
So, like most killers don't say much when they're doing their job. So you got to
that was good.
So, but by the same token, the thing about him is he's going to show, I guess, his place or the pecking order on the team based off of the type of shots and how he goes about in getting those shots. And we just talked about it. He's great at getting to the free throw line. He's great at being aggressive as a slasher. That shows enough gall and wherewithal with him personally and as a player to say, no, I'm going to take care of this right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared of the moment. I'm not going to take a back seat. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing to say I'm not going to take a back seat. It's just the team needs me to get a bucket. This is how I'm going to go about it. But to answer his other question, and to see a player when you work with them, if a player is not a good shooter, they know they're not a good shooter. It's just they know this, and mentally they're going to get that in their heads where, I have an ego, I'm a professional athlete, I'm going to shoot through this, I'm going to find a way to get over the hump, because that's just what athletes do. It's pretty apparent and pretty quick whenever I watch a player that I'm working out to say, this is what he needs to work on, and this is what we're going to work on. Two totally different things. And I've always told people this: first you form habits, and habits form you. So the way a player goes about it, his professionalism, if he walks in late, he doesn't respond to texts, he doesn't want to go about it in a professional manner, that guy's going to be a bum. And that's just the way that it's going to work. He goes about it, he works on his craft, he goes and does the little things. That's going to be a player that you're going to want to work with, and then he's going to get better eventually.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And my guy TM in the chat said, don't forget Peyton Hillis. For you football fans out there, Peyton Hillis.
He spells his name wrong.
Yeah, he did.
He was on the cover of Madden one year, right?
He was on the cover of Madden. So he had his day in the
sun.
sun.
Wish they took it back.
Yeah, he had his day in the sun, man. For sure. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Quarter season report. CP, CK2K, Jonathan Macri, and David Zenon in the building. Great conversation, guys. I want to go to two more calls before we wrap. Are you guys okay on time? Can we take two more? All right, two more. Great conversation so far. We're gonna go overseas. We're going to Vietnam. My guy Greg from Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, holding it down. Been a regular caller for the past few nights. Greg, how you doing, man? Good morning to you, sir. What's going on, bro?
Good morning. Xin Chao, Chuck Mum Nam Moi. That's Happy New Year. Lunar New Year coming up here.
No doubt.
And Vietnam and China, a couple of things. First, I got to say rest in power to Sekou Smith, the NBA writer, analyst. I don't know if you guys knew him.
Oh, yeah.
He's only 48 years old, died of COVID. I met him 20-some years ago when I worked up at ESPN Zone at the old 40 Deuce. So shout out to his family. Like Jay Boogie said, everybody be careful. Shout out to you for your show because, man, I yesterday I was doing some cardio. I was like, let me see what's on KnicksFanTV, and you hit me with Derek Harper and Channing Frye and Kenyon Martin and Rasheed Wallace. And Rasheed Wallace was straight gully. It looked like he was down in his basement, hadn't brushed his teeth, he had dirty drawers on, and I had to put some Wu-Tang on after that. So thanks for doing what you do, because don't nobody else have people like that.
Appreciate it.
Fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it. And rest in peace, Sekou Smith, for sure.
Oh, okay, and now to get to, you guys all said it. We all know the same thing. Everyone's trying to be positive. I don't mean to be Donald Downer. And I was going to wait till you did like a third of the season, which is like February 9th or 10th when we play Portland, to say some of this stuff. And I know Tibbs ain't going anywhere because we just got him, but and we are 8-11, so we're ahead of the win pace. But he's done some questionable things. Obviously, with the rotation, you guys talking about coaching and people improving. I think, and one of you guys, I can't remember who said, you don't think some of the answers are on the roster. I think some of them might be if he changed up his rotation. I know we had a short training camp and only preseason games and people were hurt, but some of these people are back now and maybe we need to see them, okay? I don't like Alfred Payton, like one of y'all said. He shouldn't be starting. He's not a bad guy. He should be playing 15, 20 minutes a game. He shouldn't be starting. Guys, talk about stats. Between RJ and Payton, they both shooting about 28% from three. That is not going to work when you have two starters shooting that bad. Quickly, I know he's going to have some. One game, he was like 2 games, he was like 1 for 10 or 1 for 9. He's going to have those, but I'd rather roll with him making mistakes than seeing Payton. Frank is back. I don't like Frank. I don't see why all these people like him. He's had 20 points, I think, twice. He's had a double-double twice in his whole career in 3 years. But you know what? We have him now. You could sit Peyton. He ain't going to care. He's making $5 million a year. See what Frank has. We got all this young team, second preseason game, It was like, Coach, what do you think? He's like, our youth is going to be an advantage. It's not an advantage if you don't play these boys. We should be running. Run. Against Sacramento, we had 0 fast break points. 0. How does that even happen?
It's crazy.
You get
and
more
such a good
fast break
defensive
points than
rebounding
that
team.
on a Friday, the day after Thanksgiving pickup game at the Y after you didn't hit a blunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a
Right?
fact, man.
And you know, that's like when.
Yeah, appreciate the call, man. You only got a couple more minutes left. So, to me, fellas, listen, the 2's locked in, the 4's locked in, the 5 is locked in. To me, the changes in the rotation is either going to come at the 1 or the 3. Are you going Quickley? Are you going to go Burks? Are you going to go Bullock? Are you going to go 3 guard with Rivers? Are you going to throw Frank in there? I'm not so sure. I'd love to see the offense get a jolt in the arm, the lineup get a jolt in the arm. There's no reason for them to be dead last in fast break points, especially the way they rebound the ball. I think they need to be out running more, like Greg said. I'm just not sure where Tibbs is going to go because he seems like a guy that sticks to his guns for a while. And they claim they're going to reevaluate things after 20 games. We'll see, man. So, Macri, what do you think on that one?
I think the change is gonna. I'm gonna just repeat what I said before. I think there's gonna be a change. I don't think it's gonna be with someone who's on the roster right now, and I think it'll be with it. The trade deadline's March 25th. I don't think it'll be that long. I think I have a feeling they'll swing something sooner, not like tomorrow or even next week, but I don't think they're gonna wait that long.
All right, a little cryptic. Okay.
I just have a gut. It's just that is nothing. That is nothing more than a gut feeling. That's all that is.
All right, no doubt, man. CK, David, anything on that one, or we go to the next one?
My answer is the same. Mine's not as cryptic because I don't have those sources, but there's a campaign I've been the head of that I'm hoping happens along the way at some point, whether it's by trade or by signing in the offseason. That's what I'm going to say for right now. But I agree. Think the 2, the 4, and the 5 is a lock. I still think there's plenty of room for something to be changed. I would love to see Frank be put in there because, benefit of the doubt, his last game before he got hurt was nice. So why the hell not? But I also, like you said, Tibbs is not the kind of guy that's going to shake out of how he feels or how he goes about coaching. So if it doesn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised there either. But, yeah, I still, like J-Mac, I think that there's going to be something outside that happens first before we
Best ability is availability.
Yeah.
Frank hasn't been available.
Not been available.
Obi's missed time with the injury. It is what it is. Transition points, I mentioned earlier, we haven't had guys that were able to rim run. We haven't had the ability to have shooters that were running wide and deep. We've had a lot of guys that have had these offensive explosions in a half-court set. We can't rely necessarily on that. We have to be able to find a way to have more spacing, and I think that when you have a big that's able to run, that's going to open up the floor here and there at certain points for other shooters and other people to get into that rhythm in which we don't have to have the air dribbled out of the ball. And that's not saying that we have anybody that does that, but what I'm saying is that's just the way that the game works. Mm-hmm. So by the same token, I don't – at this point, Tibbs kind of sees who does what. Like, that's just the animal that we're dealing with, you know what I mean? And I'm going to listen to the guy that has had teams in the Eastern Conference Finals and has been to a finals before.
You got to take it. Yeah.
Got to take it, man.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. All right, last call of the night. Ari, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's up, CP? What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. First of all, regarding the Knicks this season, personally, I'm very, very happy with how the season's going. The most important thing is player development, and I see development from every single player on the team. Mitch is getting better with the fouls. RJ's hitting his free throws. Who thought Emanuel Quickley would be this good? Kevin Knox is somehow playing defense. So, and we're also establishing a culture, playing hard defense, right? That's what kind of Tibbs preaches. Obviously, his rotations can get better, but, the fabric of the identity of defense, I like it. But to Jay Boogie's point, when is RJ going to realize he's the face of the franchise? That's easy. March 25th, when the Knicks trade Julius Randle for future draft picks or for a superstar.
There we go.
So, as long as Julius Randle is the all-star, getting all the touches, RJ is going to keep on getting frozen out, and they're going to keep on hindering Obi Toppin's growth, and that's what's going to happen. I just want to make one thing really clear real quick, all right? Because CP and everyone you don't know, I have dudes in my DMs that I don't even know that know me from the show saying, should we trade for Beal? Should we trade everyone on our team for superstar? All right, this is what I have to say, all right? The reason why it's been 20 years of us not winning is because every single time we told ourselves we're going to rebuild, we get distracted for a win-now move, overpay some guy who's not going to move the needle, end up being a 4 seed, 5 seed, 6 seed, and never getting over the hump. What is Bradley Beal and Julius Randle by themselves with a gutted team going to do? It's going to make you an 8 seed and you're going to get swept. Let me explain something to you guys who get my DMs all this time, all right? I don't do participation trophies, all right? I'm not trying to make the playoffs, bro. I'm trying to win a championship. I'm trying to build to win a chip, all right? I don't want to be an 8 seed with no cap space and be stuck in mediocrity, all right? I don't do the participation thing like, oh, I'm tired of waiting. I want to be in the playoffs, oh, blah, blah, blah. No, listen, man. This is New York City. I'm trying to win a chip, all right? And if that means we have to be patient, we have to keep on adding assets to the point where we have enough assets where we could give up half of the farm and bring in a superstar and still have a team around them. That's what we need to do. And that requires patience, all right? The reason it's taken this long is because every single time we rebuild, we always do a win-now move, okay? And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. Let's do it right for once, all right? And that's the end of it. Keep building, keep developing, and then when the time is right, the time is right. That's my take. I'm gone. Shout out Jay Flores.
And Ari drops the mic.
That needed music.
5-star call says New York basketball, man. 5-star call, man. Don't skip steps, he says.
That was intense.
Yeah.
Breathe, brother. Breathe.
Yeah. That's Ari, man. So salute to Ari, man. Yeah, the chat sent him threats on his Instagram, man. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah, salute to Ari, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where. I don't see them making a Julius move. Honestly, I really don't.
Can I just point out we haven't been a 4 or 5 seed since the 90s?
Yeah.
Excuse me, 2000.
Hold on, yeah.
Since Knicks tape, right? Since Knicks tape. Haven't been there since Knicks tape, man. Listen, there's no perfect way to build. I'm not. I don't root for this team to lose. I love winning. I love seeing them win. It makes the show even better for me. But if they make it, I'd be thrilled. If they don't make it, I'd be thrilled because I think it means that we get back in the lottery and get some more talent in here. And if Dallas tanks, then we get more talent in here. So I'm good either direction, man. But with the Randle thing, I'm just not sure which way they go with it. I don't see a trade worth their while where you're not just gonna dump them off just for the sake of a rebuild. And I don't think there's is there a competitor out there that wants to get him for a stretch run? I don't see it, man. I just don't see. I think the Randle trade is a lot more difficult than people think.
I would agree with that. He has done what he's done for New York this season because he's had the ball in his hands. And competitors or contenders rather tend to already have a couple of guys on their roster that fill that void. So I'm not sure where the team is that's going to give the Knicks what they would require because and again this ain't any kind of inside information. I could just be like common sense. They ain't giving this dude away for the Marcus Morris trade.
This is not the Mook trade. This is not the Mook trade. This is
you don't do that.
Yeah, not at all, man. So CK David, anything on that?
I appreciate his fervor, man.
Fervor is a good word.
Yeah, that's the word. Yes.
Fervor.
No, you know what? As I said, we have a young core finally. We don't have to blow things up. We're definitely not going to be the 4 or 5 seed, but if we miss the playoffs, I'm not mad at that. I'm just looking at. I just want to see development. I want to see confidence.
Yeah.
I want to see confident. I want to see growth in some point. In some facet of their games, and I think that we're seeing that. So as patience and we will see how things are going to fold.
That's a fact, man. CK, any last words?
Already spoken in, man. I want the longevity, not the short, not the quick fix. I'm with him 100%. He was just all the emotion. I loved it. Just wish we had a track that we could play behind him while he was preaching. But yeah, I'm with him.
he needed that ether track.
Yeah, he needed the ether
track. Yes, he did. Yes.
Facts, man. But yo, fellas, man, definitely appreciate the time. I thought this was a great session. Salute to all the callers that called in. Definitely appreciate it. David, I'll start with you, man. Go ahead and close out and let the people know where they can find you.
I'm at David Zenon 1. David Zenon, the number 1. You can find me on Twitter. DM me any questions. Follow me. I respond back most of the time. I love interacting with you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on and listening to my crazy takes at times. But I appreciate you. Stay safe. Everybody wash your hands. Wear a mask. Love y'all.
Appreciate it, man. CK, go ahead, bro.
Everywhere, CK2K. But as always, make sure you follow everybody that's been on this panel. You know, I love the community that we got. You know, find me CK2K videos whenever I can. And, you know, I'm all over Twitter talking about the Knicks because I have a crazy addiction just like the rest of these guys here on this panel. But yeah, man, stay safe, be smart, and stay patient. Talk to him, Ari.
Macri, go ahead, bro.
You can find me in my laundry room where I'm at right now, sitting here and doing this show. No, you can find me at on Twitter at JC Macri NBA, and it's a link to my newsletter and Knicks Film School podcast and the whole thing. Go vote Julius Randle for the All-Star.
Yeah, vote for Julius for the All-Star team, man. Absolutely, man. And salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This was an outstanding show. Make sure you guys hit those likes. Let's get those likes up like Reddit did the stock market, man. This is Wall Street right here. This is KnicksFanTV. Remember, this show is also available in audio podcast format. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Alexa, Google Play, all major podcast platforms on the KnicksFanTV. So make sure you go ahead and listen on podcast. Get your snapbacks, man. KnicksFanTV snapbacks are flying off the shelf in stores now. You can get it at KnicksFanTV.com or right underneath you on YouTube. So definitely do that. Real quick, I just want to shout out some of the super chats that came in. Shout out to Oscar De Leon. He's talked about Jeremy Grant. No, the Knicks wouldn't be trading for Jeremy Grant, but he's having an outstanding season, man. He was one of my free agent targets. I wish they would have taken a look at, but Jeremy Grant.
Can we get Jerry in Grant?
Yeah,
we want to bring
Jerry and Grant
time.
back.
Let's go get Jerry.
Let's go get Jerry back, man. Jay Giant 10 says RJ's doing what he can, surrounded by ball hogs and Peyton and Randall. RJ shows leadership skills behind the scenes. KFTV better than TV. Appreciate Jay Giant. Eric Booker, hashtag Mavs fade for Cade. So he wants to see it all burn down. I'm with you, Eric. Salute to you. And salute to Mangu Man, my Dominican brother. He says, Eric Booker, every day he's with that Mavs fade for Cade, man. I'm with it, though. Salute to Mangu Man. I can't see the comment, but definitely appreciate it. And everybody, we'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Knicks versus Cavs, post-game live. Keep it locked, Knicks Fan TV. See you guys tomorrow, man. Be safe out there.